everyone. My name is Stephanie Wolf, and I am the Membership Relations Coordinator at Population Connection. And I am so glad you're all here today to learn more about our incredible population education program, also known as Pop Ed. Our Pop Ed program is leading the way in educating the next generation of decision makers to think critically about how population trends relate to global issues. This program provides resources such as lesson plans, recommended readings, and professional development training for K through 12 educators, but that is just scratching the surface. To share more about the many offerings of Pop Ed is our Senior Vice President for Education, Pam Wasserman. Pam has been leading the Pop Ed team for over 20 years. In addition to curriculum development, workshop facilitation, event planning, fundraising, and program outreach, Pam is responsible for the strategic planning of the program's future. Also joining us from Pop Ed is our Senior Director of Teacher Programs, Carol Bleasy. Carol oversees the day-to-day functioning of the workshop program. She facilitates teacher training workshops and has led over 700 workshops in her 10+ years with Pop Ed. Additionally, she is involved with curriculum development, website and blog updates, and is part of the World of 8 Billion Student Contest strategic team. Now, if you have any questions for Pam or Carol, please drop those in the Q&A box that is found at the bottom of your screen. We'll do our very best to get those answered during the Q&A portion, which will be after the presentation and activity we have planned today. And then for any questions we don't have time to answer live, we will provide written answers along with a recording of this presentation, the presentation slides, and access to the chat box discussion. Now that's all from me. At this time, I will send it over to you, Pam.
Thanks, Stephanie. Carol is sharing her screen. We have some slides to share to give you an overview of the program before we get into the teaching activity she's going to demonstrate. I'd first like to just explain what the program is about and the rationale for the program. So I want to start with the mission of Pop Ed. We provide quality training and teaching materials for educators to help them teach about population and related topics effectively in the classroom. And we'll be talking more about what those related topics are in a moment. But I want to say that the Pop Ed program started in 1975, back when we were still ZPG. And so we are coming up on the 50th anniversary of the program, which is a real milestone. The vision of the program, we want every young person prepared to tackle global problems and to be positively engaged in their communities as the next generation of voters, parents, leaders, and policymakers. And sometimes I'm asked, how does population education fit in with the other work that Pop Connection does, all of our advocacy work? And because we deal with the K-12 community, it is non-advocacy what we do, but you can see that by educating young people, we want them to, when they are a voting age and they're considering having families, that they've learned a lot about this issue so that can be in back of mind in all kinds of decision makings as adults. Okay. That said, population education is really unique. We are the only national organization that focuses on education for young people about population. There are other organizations that might have, some teaching resources, but we're the only program that really focuses on making that population connection. And on this slide, there's a quote from one of our workshop participants at a conference in Wisconsin. We get very positive feedback from teachers because we do fill a niche that other organizations don't. So what is Pop Ed and what are these related topics? We do a lot of activities to understand demographics and population dynamics, but we also try to connect them to a variety of environmental and societal topics. We often say that our program works on sustainability issues and also global citizenship issues. So in the sustainability realm, you see these environmental topics, and this is not exhaustive, but this gives you an idea of some of the topics we work on. Resource use, habitat and biodiversity, water use, agriculture, climate. We have a lot on climate change, energy use, just to name some. And then on the global citizenship side, the societal topics, which fit more probably into social studies classrooms, it's really understanding how population trends affect human communities, individual well-being. So you can see some of those topics up on that screen. Okay, what isn't pop ed? Pop ed is not sex ed. This is one of the questions I often get because by the name population education, people may not know exactly what that is. But we cover a lot of topics, but we don't do reproductive health. There are some very good organizations that do that, like Planned Parenthood and Advocates for Youth, but that's not what we do. But to explain some of the subjects where we do fit in, the most common subjects are science, social studies, and math. And this shows you a breakdown of those areas. Within science, obviously environmental science, earth science, which I used to just think of as geology, but now earth science also includes environmental topics, ecology, biology, and life science, and also the advanced placement course, AP Environmental Science, which is offered in many high schools around the country. And AP courses are geared toward college-bound students, and they're taught at a little bit higher level. Within the social studies, geography, of course, also history, because we deal a lot with world population history, US history, civics, economics. And then there's another AP course that we do a lot of work with, and that's human geography. And both of those AP courses, environmental science and human geography, include entire units on population. So there's a great fit for us. And these AP courses, students then take a test at the end of the year that can help them get credits for college. So they've become very, very popular. Within math, I mean, you know, understanding demographics and the statistics we use incorporates a lot of math. So some of the key issues are around probability and statistics, making real world connections. Math teachers love it when they can use real world data, and just data literacy in general. And then in the blue, you'll see some of the other courses we work with. Family and consumer sciences used to be called home ec, but they deal with using resources. We've adapted some of our activities for ESOL, which is working with English language learners all over the country, gifted and talented. And a new topic for us is education technology, ed tech. During the pandemic, we started creating a lot of digital tools when classes went remote, and we've continued to develop them. And now, you know, teachers want to bring technology into the classroom, so we have a lot of tools to do that. Okay, now I want to talk about how we address population for different grade levels, because it's really important in education to be age appropriate. So we do work with very young students, starting with K through 2. It's primarily basic environmental stewardship, understanding interdependence in nature, needs versus wants, resource and land use, and just being good environmental stewards. For the elementary classroom, it's usually one teacher teaching everything. So we really stress how interdisciplinary our materials are, that they can use skills in science, math, social studies, and language arts, and sometimes all in one lesson. That's also true for upper elementary, grades 3 through 5. But we can step it up at that point, and we can start talking about human population change, carrying capacity in nature, how humans impact the environment, land use patterns, pollution. So that's kind of how we address it in the elementary grades. Moving on to secondary level, and this is where there are many more opportunities for us, because for middle and high school students, they have, discrete subjects that are taught. For middle grades, we are discussing population growth trends, human environmental interactions, and how they impact different ecosystems, resource consumption, ecological footprints, resource distribution and scarcity, biodiversity. We're also able to address gender issues in middle school, quality of life indicators, wealth distribution. And the courses where they're most taught: life science, which is sort of biology, but for middle school, earth science, and geography. In high school, this is where it gets the most sophisticated. So by high school, and especially in those AP courses, we are discussing demographic transition models, how demographics vary from region to region around the world, poverty and wealth distribution, public health and education trends, family decision making. So while we don't deal with sex ed, we do talk about family planning programs worldwide, climate change, of course, gender equity issues, social justice. So a lot of different topics to cover. And the courses there are biology, environmental science, anywhere from a general course to that AP or IB, which is International Baccalaureate, world history, economics, world geography, human geography, and global issues. So that gives you sort of an overview of how we address it for different grade levels. And now I'm going to turn it over to Carol to talk about the scope of work.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. So we have all this great content that we cover. We know that it's important for teachers to include it in their classrooms. We know that teachers want to include it in their classrooms. So how do we support educators in this journey? Historically, the two main pillars or ways that we supported teachers were through the materials that we develop and the workshops that we conduct. In more recent years, though, we've been able to expand that scope to include ways to reach teachers and students in different levels. One of those is through our International Student Video Contest. It's the one way that we really are able to interact directly with students, because most of our program is based on a model where we support educators. So that's really fun. So I'm going to talk about each of these in turn a little bit. So starting with our materials. A lot of our lesson plans and our resources are available for teachers to download from our website. However, we also have some key lesson plan libraries that are on password protected microsites. And these we make available to any educator that attends one of our workshops, and we have hundreds of them every year. So every teacher who attends a workshop gets access to a full online lesson plan library. In addition to one that is sort of a best of K-12 library, we have them for educators that are grade specific. So we have one for elementary grades. It's called Counting on People. In addition to lesson plans, so active classroom activities, we provide recommended children's books. Elementary teachers are often looking for ways to incorporate content literacy, which is just considered literacy to support the core subject areas. We include recommended multimedia tools, things like little online games or songs or video clips. And in our elementary library, we also include what we refer to as community connections, but they're really service learning projects, ways to get our students involved in their community. So they're learning about some of these challenges that we face either locally or globally, and how can they be a change maker for good. So by middle school, our middle school curriculum, again, the core of it is those lesson plans. One neat thing that we add in for middle school are spotlight readings, where we provide, they're short readings, they're maybe a page long, but they showcase different case studies that relate to the content that is covered in the lesson plan. So that's a neat addition for the middle grades. And then for high school educators, we have our Earth Matters lesson plan library. It's made up of 15 thematic units, which include lesson plans. It includes each of those thematic units has at least one, if not two, background readings. They also have pretty in-depth case studies on the various topics. So there's a lot there. One thing I'll add to Pam's overview of what we cover is that our lessons do align with a whole variety of state and national content standards. So these are the things that educators are required by their state to cover in the classroom. So we find ways that teachers can cover these population topics, environmental topics, societal topics, while still meeting those required standards, which they know have to take up so much of their time. So in addition to these 4 curriculum items, we have a couple other fun ones. We recently did a packet of lessons when the United States population hit 330 million. So that has some really neat things, specifically looking at US demographics, the history of US population. In fact, just last night, one of our colleagues, Barbara, did a webinar for educators specifically with lessons from this packet. It was specifically for US history teachers, so that's neat. And then we also have 2 packets actually that are bilingual, where the lesson plans are available in both English and Spanish. And one of those is for elementary educators and one is for secondary educators. I'm not going to go and give you like a tour of all of these, but I will share that our elementary lesson plan library is on the cusp of being reinvented. By the end of next week, we will be pushing out a whole bunch of updates there. These are the different units that are included in that elementary lesson plan library. So you can see that they are thematic in how they're organized. On the right-hand side of the screen, this is an example of one of our lesson plans. This one is called Counting Carbon. It is a lesson plan that has students first think about the environmental impact, pretty much the CO2 emissions that come from a class of students getting to school, so related to transportation. And then in the second part of the activity, they actually explore carbon sinks and what carbon sinks are, how they work, why they're so important to us, and how we can protect them. I think our most popular resource, or probably well-known resource, is our world population dot video, or it's sometimes referred to the heartbeat video. It shows population from 2 perspectives. From a historic perspective, it looks at population change from 1 CE through present. And it also looks at population from a geographic perspective. So it looks at where populations have been centered and located during that time frame. It is something that we use as a classroom resources in secondary grades, but it is also something that gets a lot of use with adult learners. There's a couple different museums that have this on permanent or temporary display. We've given the copyrights to different groups to use this, so it's something that really speaks to people of all ages. And then just real quick, I've sort of already talked about this, but we have, in addition to the classroom lesson plans, which are the real core of our activities, we have readings, we have case studies. We have a couple really fun posters. What you see here is a little sort of cropped image from our world population map, which is a population cartogram that is loved by our geography teachers as well as others. We have some really neat infographics that teachers can utilize and put into their teaching. Pam mentioned educational technology. We have some really cool digital tools that teachers can incorporate, and that's what we are going to be showcasing at during the second part of this session today. And then just all the different things that we have available on our website. So that's that first pillar, our curriculum, our materials. The second pillar is our workshops. And a key feature of our workshops is that they are for educators. So our workshops are not conducted directly with students in the classroom in any significant way. That being said, last week we had some of our staff go work with some students in the DC public schools, but that's because they're our neighbors and it's more of a favor. Really, our work is with educators. They could be current classroom teachers, whether that's at a public school, private school, religious school, you name it, school. They might be a non-formal educator, so someone working at a nature center, zoo, history center, or a pre-service educator. And that is all of the college students who are getting their degrees in education. So they're pre-service, they're before their service in education. And during our workshops, they're very interactive because our lessons are very interactive. When I go into a workshop, I don't want to just stand and talk at these teachers for 90 minutes. After a brief introduction, we actually engage the teachers in the activities, whether it is an online workshop or an in-person workshop. So we model the activities. I model them as if I'm the classroom teacher. They are my third grade class or ninth grade class or whatever it might be. And so they actually get to participate and experience the lessons themselves. Of course, after each one, we take a step back, we put our practitioner hat on, and we talk about the pedagogy within the lesson plan. We talk about how you might differentiate it for different learning styles and things of that nature. But they are very interactive. And in terms of numbers, about half of our workshops are with this pre-service audience. So about half of them are on university campuses. At this point, about a fourth are done virtually, so are done online, which has proved really great for reaching new areas of the country where we either don't have trainers or can't send staff. For instance, we just had a workshop with the University of Alaska that we were able to conduct a 90-minute workshop with educators in Fairbanks. So that was really neat. We cover a really broad expanse of the US and Canada. So we're not just in certain states, but we really are covering and getting into a lot of them. And in terms of these college workshops, we in 2023, we're on 113 different campuses. So again, similar to the schools, the K-12 schools, these could be public institutions, private institutions, religious institutions, whatever it might be. We are happy to work with educators where they are. And the reason that we do so much work with pre-service or university classes is they're just a really good audience for us. These future teachers, they're not sort of stuck in their ways yet. So we get in as they're just formulating how they're going to run their classrooms. They're going to teach in a variety of settings. We can go into one school and know that some of those people are going to end up teaching in really rural areas. Some of those teachers might be ending up in all sorts of different institutions. We can make lasting contacts with the instructors in those classes. So it's a way that we can form a relationship and continue to partner with the classes at those universities. And then unlike conferences, we are able to have a guaranteed audience. We know there are 24 students enrolled in that class. Hopefully there'll be, let's say, 22 students in attendance at our workshops. So how do we do, hundreds of workshops every year? Well, it's not just our staff. We have an amazing network of volunteer trainers, people who are career or professional, I should say, educators. They are located all over the country, throughout Canada, or at least the southern provinces. And they lead 60 to 75% of our workshops in a given year. Every one of them has an education background, so they're really top-notch and provide best practices for the teachers who are learning about Pop Ed and learning about these resources. In terms of screening them, We do go through an interview process. They have to apply. We talk to references, and then we really try and get them all to one of our population education leadership institutes, which are train the trainer weekends that we hold twice a year. And it's where we bring in these volunteers and we make sure that they are comfortable with what Pop Ed stands for, with why we're doing what we're doing, and then that they're comfortable facilitating a wide range of our lesson plans. Because after the Leadership Institute, we want them to be able to go out to universities in their area or attend their state teaching conference and represent Pop Ed and get these materials into more teachers' hands. So lots that we depend on for our volunteers. And our workshops are overwhelmingly successful. And don't take my word for it. The teachers think so. And I'll let Pam talk about that a little bit in terms of our impact.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, we do survey the teachers who attend our workshops. We wait several months until they've had time to use them in their own classes. And then we ask them all sorts of questions. I mean, we want to know, have they used the materials? How have they used them? What were the student reactions? On this slide, you'll see a link to a full report. The most recent one was from 2023, and that was looking at the responses from participants from the prior 2 years, 2021, 2022. So we do these reports every 2 to 3 years. But the results are fairly consistent from report to report. Overwhelmingly, teachers think that the materials are valuable, that they meet their standards, they fit their curriculum. And then we don't survey students directly, but we do ask the teachers how they think student response was to the materials. And so you can see in one of these graphs, they're asked, does it effectively engage your students? Does it increase their awareness of population issues? And does it improve their critical thinking and problem solving skills? So, we get very positive responses to those questions. We also ask them, how frequently do you use the materials? So for those AP classes, they have a population unit, and that's where they're going to teach it once a year. But some teachers, figure out where they want to teach some of these lessons at different points in the school year. For the university faculty who invite us, they might be presenting it every semester to their students. So most of the responses are, that teachers are using it at least once a year, but sometimes multiple times during the school year. We also have an online graduate course. This is for middle and high school teachers that want an even deeper dive into the issues and our curriculum. And we've been doing this for, I want to say, 6 or 7 years now. And they are taught by PhDs, university faculty. For many years, we had a professor at University of Michigan whose focus was sustainability education. The course is now taught by a professor at Texas State University whose emphasis is on social studies and geography. It's a course that can be taken for 3 graduate credits through Adams State University in Colorado, or teachers can just take it for their continuing education units, which is something teachers need to stay up on. We've taught it as both an 8-week course in the fall or a more condensed 4-week course in the summer. We're finding that teachers prefer the condensed course in the summer. They just have more time to spend on that course. And you can see the list of modules over there. So, and some of the alums from the graduate course wind up becoming trainers for us too, which is really nice to see. All right, now I want to just briefly talk about our student video contest. I know some of you have probably sat in on the end of the year wrap ups that we do, and I talk about this contest. We wrapped up the most current one in May. We awarded prizes. And we start the contest at the beginning of the school year, so we just launched a new one. But these are some stats from the one that wrapped up this past spring. So we are able to estimate that more than 4,600 students participated in the contest. That's not the same as number of entries we get because multiple students often work on each entry. About 2/3 come from high school students, a third come from middle school students. Many of them are assignments that the teachers give to students, and we give them a long time to assign it. So we start marketing the contest at the beginning of the school year, and they're not due until the following March. Very international. Last year, we got entries from 58 countries, 44 states, DC and Guam. And on that pie chart, you can see the topics that we addressed in the last contest. We mix the topics up every year. And this next slide just shows you like where we've gotten entries from all over the world. So we're very, and that increases every year that we do it. We get more entries. And it's amazing how many of these international students whose first language is not English do a bang up job because it has to either be submitted in English or with English subtitles. And they blow me away. They're really good. And I just wanted to include a slide of our winners for the 2023-2024 contest. These are our first and second place winners. These are such bright kids. We love having conversations with them. We interview them after we announce the winners. We put their bios up on our contest website. And you can see they're from all over the country. There's a picture of 4 boys from Egypt who won one of our prizes last year. And they're just phenomenal kids. Okay, these are just some of the feedback we get. After the contest closes, we send one survey to teachers who had their students enter. We do another one for the students. And I just wanted to share with you some of the feedback we get. Teachers love this assignment. It brings in research, writing, and so now we have a lot of language arts teachers who enter, as well as science and social studies. They like the way we've scaffolded it so that we give them an organizer so they can develop their thoughts on how they want to present their video. And the video limit is 1 minute. So they really have to be very strategic about how they get that across. The next slide is some of the student responses. They really enjoy it. Kids love making videos. They can do it on their phones. They don't need any special materials. And one thing we're doing this year that we haven't done in the past is offering mini grants to classrooms if they need resources that they can't afford, like maybe some editing software or a microphone. So right now we're in the process of going through all the applications we've received and giving grants anywhere from, $100 to $500 for things that they could use. And we're prioritizing under-resourced schools as much as we can. This year's topics are child well-being, rainforest ecosystems, and sanitation. And if you go to that URL at the bottom, worldof8billion.org, you'll see suggestions we have for some of the subtopics. You'll see background resources that we provide to students. We try to give them a lot of tools to help them with their research and conceptualizing their videos. So the deadline for this school year is going to be March 5th. So if you know anybody who's a teacher or a teenager that you want to get involved, please share that link with them. We have a contest website. We have a website that houses that video, but our main website for the program is populationeducation.org. There you can find curriculum. You can find a widget that shows how different activities match standards for every state, every Canadian province. We have our blog where we put up new posts for teachers once or twice a week. There's a population clock. And there's there's videos showing demonstrations of many of our activities. So these demo videos, we have 39 of them up now. And over the summer, we filmed, I think, 12 more. So they're in the editing process. So we'll be adding those. This is a great way for either teachers who don't attend a workshop, or maybe they do attend a workshop, but they want a reminder of how to best present it in their class. So, so these are really nice resources to have. Most of these videos are 5 to 10 minutes in length. And finally, I wanted to mention that we do staff exhibit booths at teacher conventions. The main two that we exhibit at is the National Council for the Social Studies. That's in the fall. We'll be there in November in Boston. And then in the spring, the big convention is the National Science Teachers Association. So this is a way to meet teachers, you know, as they come by our table. We give them out lots of goodies, and you know, take their names so that we can continue to engage them after the convention. And finally, I mentioned at the beginning that we've been doing this for 50 years, and this is a little anniversary logo that one of our team members came up with, Ava. So we've been putting this on different little swag items like tote bags, and so we'll be doing some special things to commemorate this 50th anniversary as we get into the winter and spring. So that's all I have, but Carol's now going to do the fun part, which is demoing one of our very popular activities.
Yes, yes, yes. 50 years and going strong. No stopping in sight. So the activity that I am so excited to have us demonstrate for you is called Something for Everyone. It is an activity on how people use resources. And I'm not going to describe it too much up front because I want you to experience the activity the way that a student might. Okay, so it is a game that you would be playing in the classroom. And I have invited 5 folks to play this game with me. This is what the game board looks like. And so just to orient you to the game board, there are 5 boxes along the bottom, and those are each kind of the home base, if you will, to my 5 participants. So you can see our moderator, Stephanie, is here in the green box. And then we have Barbara, Sally, Ava, and Bennett also participating. Over on the left-hand side of the screen is my teacher zone that no one else is allowed to enter. So that's for me only. I'll keep an eye on the 5 of you. Don't come into my teacher zone. And in the sort of central part of the screen, you see a blue pool with some circles in it. We refer to those as chips. And those represent resources. And they are resources that these 5 participants want and need. Okay? So that's the board game, or the board setup. Now, how do we play? My first thing that I'm going to share my participants, and I should let you all know, 2 of the people that are participating are pop ed facilitators, so they know this game, but the other ones are not. So they are learning this at the exact same time that you all are. So we're going to see how this plays out. So my first rule is that starting right now, my participants, none of you can communicate. So no one is allowed to talk. No one can write a direct message to each other. No communicating. Those chips, those red chips that are in the pool, they belong to all of you. Okay, so they are a communal resource. Your goal is to get 10 chips, and you do that by sliding a chip from the pool into your little box. Your goal is to get 10 chips because when you get 10 chips by sliding them into your box, don't do it now, I just did that to show you, you can trade them in for, ooh, a gold star. Okay, so your goal is to get 10 chips. You can trade them in for a gold star. Music will be playing. While the music plays, that's when you can take chips out of the pool. So you can't just take them whenever you want. You have to wait for the music to play. When you hear the music playing, you can take chips out. When the music stops, You have to stop. You can't take any more out. I didn't actually set up music, so I am going to awkwardly sing to you all. Get ready for that. Once you take a chip out, you can't put it back. So once you've taken the chip out of the pool, that's yours. When the music stops, that's the end of the round. At that point, if you have 10 chips, I will give you a gold star. Also at that point, I will double the number of chips left in the pool. But there will never be more chips than there are right now. And right now there are 24 chips in the pool. Okay, so 24 is the maximum number of resources that can be in this pool. I'm going to go over that all again real quickly, okay? The chips are resources, they belong to all of you. You want to get 10 chips. So when I start singing, you can slide the chips into your home base. You want to get 10 because when you get 10, you can trade them in for a gold star. When I stop singing, you need to stop moving chips. If you've taken a chip out of the pool, you can't put it back, okay? After I'm done singing, that's the end of the round. If you have 10 chips, you'll get a gold star. Otherwise, I will double the number of chips that are left in the pool, but there will never be more chips than there are right now. And no one at this point is allowed to communicate, okay? So we're gonna get started here. My 5 participants, are we ready? Are we ready to play? Awesome, okay. I have a toddler at home, so I'm gonna sing a favorite of Devin, which is The Wheels on the Bus. Here we go. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Okay, our round is over. Let's see, does anybody have 10 chips? Bennett, it looks like you have the most. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Close, but not quite. So nobody gets a gold star. Nobody got 10 chips. Okay, no problem. What I'm going to do at this point, as I mentioned, I am going to double the number of chips left in the pool. Wait a minute. There aren't any chips in the pool. I don't have anything to double. The game's over. Nobody gets a gold star. We're out of resources. Womp womp. I think we should try again. Everybody put your chips back into the pool. While they are doing that, I want to open it up to the larger audience. And feel free to write in the chat. Does anybody have any ideas for our 5 game participants? Anybody have any ideas on strategy or what they should do here? Olivia says teamwork. Okay. Anybody else have any? Cooperate, leave some chips in the pool. Ooh, interesting concept. Nicole says, don't remove any chips. A quick course on the commons. This is that quick course. Take fewer chips. Yeah. Okay. Participants, I'm gonna let you've heard some suggestions. Oh, somebody says each person takes 1 chip. You've heard some suggestions. I'll let you unmute yourself. Anybody want to take the lead and share what you all want to do if you want to cooperate?
I'm curious about leaving some in the pool, but also if somebody gets a gold star, do we get even more resources?
So once you get the gold star at the end of a round, I will double how many chips are left in the pool. And you can get as many gold stars. There's an unlimited number of gold stars. So you can just keep getting them anytime you get 10 chips.
I think I'm going to not take any chips then.
Okay.
I think we should all take at least 1 because we can't have more chips in here than there are right now. So it won't double if it's left.
Correct. There will never be more chips than there are right now, and there are 24 chips in the pool. Any other thoughts before I bring the wheels on the bus back?
Do we think we should
Barbara?
take more than one chip each? So there were 24 chips total, and there's 5 of us, and Carol will double whatever's remaining. So is there a different number of chips we could take?
You could definitely
Interesting point.
take 2.
Okay, Sally's saying yes. Stephanie's saying yes. It sounds like you're each going to take 2 chips. Well, let's see what happens. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Okay, end of the round. Does anyone have 10 chips? No. So nobody gets a gold star. However, let's take a look at the pool. Very different outcome than our last round, right? Communication has made quite the difference in what is happening here. So in the pool, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 chips. If we double 14, that takes us to 28. Remember, I said we'd never have more than 24. So I am going to add 10 more to bring us back up to 24. So I'm not totally going to double, but I'm going to give us 10 more chips. Okay? Just spread these out for the sake of it. Any further comments from anybody in the audience, my participants, before I start singing again? Okay, here we go. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Okay, so now let's see. Everybody has 4 chips left in the pool. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're in the same situation, right? So I can add 10 more chips to the pool. So we'll do this. We'll keep going. I mean, it seems like everybody's working together. Everybody's cooperating. If I was in a classroom with students, I would be thrilled. So, oh, I just saw in the chat, someone said a different strategy, right? So maybe rather than every single person taking 2 every round, one person could take 10 chips, get their star. The next round, the next person could take 10 chips, and so on. So that's interesting. There's more than one way to do it. Singing. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Oh my goodness. Well, that got unruly quickly. So let's see. Does anybody have 10 chips? Barbara, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You get a gold star. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody else has 10 chips. Now let's look at our pool. 2 chips left in our pool. I can double 2. It's going to make our next round kind of interesting though, isn't it? Now, for the sake of time, I'm actually going to stop our game because I want to talk about what's going on here with everyone. So, as someone sort of alluded to in the chat, this is a game that looks at this concept of the tragedy of the commons. If everyone uses resources in a way that's best for them in the short term, it can be that is to the detriment of the largest or the larger group in the long term. So if everyone just does whatever they want in the moment, down the road, we might not have the resources, this particular resource, to go around. Now, the tragedy of the commons is not an end-all, be-all situation. It's not a foregone conclusion that that's what happens with shared resources, but it can happen. It absolutely can happen. So in a classroom, we can talk about, what happens throughout this simulation. A couple things that I'll point out. In that first round, no one could communicate. Nobody knew what anyone else was going to do. So they just went for all the chips. They depleted all of the resources. There was nothing left, and nobody got a gold star. Once they were able to communicate, as folks said in the chat, they could cooperate, they could work together, they could have teamwork, and they could come up with a strategy for managing those resources. Are the chips renewable or non-renewable resources? Well, they are renewable. We know because the chips can regenerate. As long as we left them in the pool, we could get more of them. But as soon as we took that last one out, that was it. If you leave fish in a pond, they should be able to regenerate and create more fish. If you catch that last fish, fish don't just appear, right? And was there an ideal number to take out of the pool? Anybody have any thoughts? Was there an ideal number? I see 1. Game would have moved very slowly with what? 12, absolutely. And it's 12 because that would have been half. In the real world, when renewable resources are being managed, that is considered the maximum sustainable yield. It's typically, I have very much simplified it in this activity, making it just exactly half because there are other things that come into play here. But this is all leading to great discussion with our students about sustainability, right? Using resources in a way that everyone can benefit from them today and people in the future can continue to benefit from them. So we ask students to think about what are some examples of renewable resources. For younger learners, we might just think about resources in the classroom. If I'm doing this with 4th graders, we might look around the room, or we might extend that to our school or our neighborhood. If I was doing this with high schoolers, I would have them think about a national or a global level. And what are some resources that are renewable, and how can we ensure that they are shared and that they are used in a way that they can continue into the future? The high school version of this activity, you have your students get a strategy. Okay, in this case, they're all taking 2 chips. Then we say, it's 10 years later, our population increased. I'm going to add 2 more people to the simulation. How does that population increase impact the way that we use resources? It also is not uncommon in a classroom setting where you have students, they've come up with a strategy, everybody's cooperating, and then someone pulls a Barbara, which I won't throw Barbara under the bus. I asked her to take a bunch of chips, so I won't just hang her up to dry, just for an example. But if that happens in the classroom, we relate it to the real world, because in the real world, at a local level, at a regional level, at a national level, at a global level, we come up with strategies for managing resources. And then sometimes people don't follow them. People don't follow them, countries don't follow them, corporations don't follow them, groups don't follow them, whatever it might be. And then what do? How do we get back from that? So much robust conversation that you can have here with your students. And I already sort of spoke to this idea of increasing population and how that would play into this. When we do this in a classroom, we do it with physical manipulative. So we actually have poker chips or little math counters that a lot of schools have in the classroom. And you're sitting in a circle, so you're actually physically grabbing the chips. Just a way to do the activity that's more interactive when you're not virtual. But hopefully that gave you all a taste of one of our popular activities. Super cool. The students always get really into it. And with that, I have left us like no time, Stephanie. I am sorry, but we meant to leave time for questions. And I didn't really do that, but I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie. So we can answer any questions if we have any time.
Thanks, Carol. We are actually going to have our senior analyst, Hannah Evans, be facilitating the Q&A real quick for us. Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, everyone. Gosh, it was so great to get to hear more about PopEd's program, and thanks for making it so interactive. That was really interesting. Yeah, we've got a few minutes here for questions, and I just want to make sure we get to the ones that have been asked live. And the first is just kind of speaking to, how many resources are available and a lot of interest in this work, but wondering, are there any costs associated with accessing your resources?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of our workshops are free. And as I mentioned, anyone who attends a workshop gets access to one of our lesson plan libraries at no cost, just for attending. The workshops that we do have a very moderate charge for are some of our in-service programming that we do directly with schools. But even for those, we have a couple preset agendas that we do at no cost. We discount our workshops heavily, if not entirely, for Title I schools. So there is a slight cost at times for certain things. If you wanted to purchase access to a full library from our website, there would be, but we give a lot away for free.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Another question was just asking about any movements towards incorporating regenerative agriculture and ranching into your programs, just looking at the links between that and carbon emissions and discussions about climate change.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we do a lot with not just formal ed, but also with groups like 4-H. There's a group called National Agriculture in the Classroom that we usually participate in their conferences. And we do have some activities, one looking at soil health and the importance of healthy soil and what that means. We have one called Meat of the Matter, where it's a activity with manipulatives where students assess the differences in carbon emissions of different kinds of protein sources. So looking at, beef and chicken and soy and pork and so we do get into some of the agricultural issues, and also just looking at land use around the world and how much of our land, it's 40%, is used for agriculture and ranching.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, it is just at the hour now, so we'll go ahead and work to sign off. Thank you so much again for a really fantastic and interesting and informative presentation. We'll be following up via email with any answers to questions that weren't gotten to during the live part of this presentation. And yeah, thank you so much again. Great to hear more.
Thanks, Hannah.
Bye, everyone.